The role of brain glycogen during stroke recovery presents a biological paradox. It can act as both a life-saving emergency fuel and a potential source of harm, depending on when and how it is mobilized. Glycogen, primarily stored in astrocytes, is the brain's only significant energy reserve. During ischemic events like stroke, when oxygen and glucose delivery are abruptly cut off, this local fuel source can be rapidly broken down to supply energy substrates to struggling neurons. In theory, this glycogen-derived support could buy precious time for cellular survival. But the situation is far more complex. Under prolonged oxygen deprivation, the very same metabolic processes that generate emergency energy can also accelerate neuronal damage by fueling anaerobic glycolysis, lactic acid buildup, and oxidative stress. In the early stages of a stroke, blood flow to parts of the brain is either completely or partially blocked, cutting off oxygen and glucose. Neurons are highly dependent on these resources, and their metabolic reserves are minimal. Astrocytes, in contrast, hold modest stores of glycogen that they can quickly break down to supply glucose or lactate to neighboring neurons. This transfer of energy may help buffer the immediate energy collapse in ischemic regions, preventing rapid cell death. Several studies in animal models have demonstrated that glycogen breakdown in astrocytes during early ischemia correlates with temporary neuroprotection, reduced excitotoxicity, and slower ADP depletion. However, this protective effect has a narrow window. As hypoxia, oxygen deprivation, continues, the brain shifts toward anaerobic metabolism. This is where things begin to turn. Without sufficient oxygen, glucose and its metabolites are processed inefficiently, resulting in the production of lactic acid. Excessive lactate accumulation leads to acidosis, cellular swelling, and mitochondrial dysfunction, conditions that worsen the injury. Glycogen, by providing more fuel for this flawed pathway, may unintentionally amplify tissue damage. In this way, the brain's emergency fuel reserve becomes a liability. The situation is further complicated by the fact that glycogen metabolism does not occur in isolation. It is intimately tied to inflammatory responses, calcium signaling, and oxidative stress pathways. Rapid glycogen breakdown during stroke can elevate free glucose levels in damaged areas, feeding reactive oxygen species, ROS, production through pathways like the pentose phosphate cycle or impaired mitochondrial respiration. These ROS exacerbate lipid peroxidation and DNA damage, accelerating neuronal death. So, does brain glycogen help or harm during stroke recovery? The answer likely depends on both timing and localization. Early and controlled mobilization of glycogen, perhaps within the first hour of ischemia, may preserve cellular integrity and reduce infarct size. But sustained or dysregulated breakdown may tip the scales towards secondary injury. Moreover, in reperfusion injury, the damage that occurs when blood flow is restored after stroke, glycogen-derived glucose, may contribute to oxidative bursts and inflammation, further complicating recovery. This duality suggests that therapeutic modulation of glycogen metabolism could offer new strategies for improving stroke outcomes, but only if it can be precisely timed. Interventions that delay or control glycogenolysis, perhaps by targeting glycogen phosphorylase or lactate shuttling, may protect the brain from secondary damage. Conversely, enhancing glycogen breakdown immediately after ischemia onset could extend the survival of at-risk neurons in the penumbra, the area surrounding the core of the stroke that is still salvageable. Current stroke treatments focus primarily on restoring blood flow, such as with clot-busting drugs or surgical thrombectomy. But these interventions don't address the underlying metabolic chaos that unfolds during and after the ischemic event. A deeper understanding of astrocyte-neuron metabolic interactions, especially the role of glycogen, could add a new dimension to stroke therapy, one that supports not just circulation, but cellular survival and functional recovery. In the long term, stroke rehabilitation may also benefit from strategies that enhance brain energy resilience. Pre-stroke metabolic health, glycogen storage capacity, and mitochondrial efficiency may all influence recovery potential. This again underscores the link between systemic metabolic regulation and brain health. Just as poorly controlled diabetes increases stroke risk and worsens outcomes, healthier glycogen handling, before and after the stroke, may tilt the balance toward recovery rather than decline. Ultimately, brain glycogen is neither inherently good nor bad during stroke. It is situationally vital. It represents both a buffer and a risk, a line of defense and a fuel for destruction. Learning how to manipulate this balance, through timing, pharmacology, or supportive therapies, may unlock new ways to protect the brain when seconds count most.